Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Craig Isakow. Craig Isakow is co-founder and CEO of Moonshot Brands, a platform that acquires and scales e-commerce brands globally. He is an entrepreneurial executive, operator, and founder with big company experiences, including McKinsey and Airbnb. As Shift's first employee, Craig played a key role in scaling the company from idea to over $100 million in funding. Craig also launched an Amazon and Shopify business featured on ABC's Shark Tank. He holds an MBA from the Wharton School and studied engineering and economics at the University of Michigan. He is a father of 2 boys and a proud husband. Well, good afternoon, Craig. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And I'm just as excited, Craig. We get to hear your amazing story, and I get the pleasure and the opportunity and the privilege to turn around and share it with our global audience. So thank you. And so, Craig, we're going to jump directly into the questions here. You've got quite the career and strategy. You're a senior executive, a serial entrepreneur, and now the co-founder and CEO of Moonshot Brands. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think it's an interesting question. I don't know if there's a secret. My career is very much not linear. And when I look back at my life and my career, I've really had a lot of unique and what I found to be interesting opportunities. And I think looking back, you could have never guessed how they'd be intertwined. Let me just give you kind of a few examples. I think, what inspired me was not being afraid to fail and just taking really unique opportunities and going for it. And some of those are maybe seem risky. Some of them maybe didn't seem risky. And I'll just give you a couple quick examples. I came out of college, got a great job with McKinsey and Company, a very kind of traditional consulting firm. And after that, I went and worked on John Kerry's presidential campaign. So I went from building spreadsheets and presenting to senior executives at Fortune 500 companies to literally traveling to places like Beckley, West Virginia, which was coal mining country, and Florida and the Grand Canyon and Philadelphia, running events for 6 months. And it was, to this day, still the best job I ever had. I had no experience in politics. I just knew I wanted to make a difference and landed up in this great job called Advance. And while that might seem really far from business, I got so many new skills and friends and network. I even met my wife through someone that I met on that campaign, that I took that job knowing that it was a 6-month experience, and afterwards I'd probably go back to business, and that's fine. Other examples, I moved to China, and I moved to China because I wanted to learn about China, and landed up having 2 amazing years there, knowing that China was going to be part of all of our lives for many years. What I learned there in terms of investing and sourcing and product management and working with different cultures, there's no way I could have predicted how that would help me, 20 years later. But it's, now I'm sourcing products from China, and I'm getting on Zoom calls with people in China, and I understand, when they're giving me a tour of a factory, what that feels like, and bringing that experience back. So I think the secret for me has been really a nonlinear path where I'm willing to try things and take chances and really just be excited to do that. Now, I recognize that I'm very fortunate. I have a degree, I have a network, I have kind of a fallback plan. I have a loving family that I know would take care of me. So I've really taken advantage of that to dive headfirst into what might seem like risky opportunities, but just to be open-minded and try new things.
That's awesome. And truly, this is the epitome of being well-rounded, right? You've done just about everything. And I think that's really what has built you into the entrepreneur machine that you are today. So totally awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Craig, tell us a bit more about how you empower entrepreneurs with your business model.
Yeah. So my co-founder and co-CEO, Alan, and I, we've been founders and entrepreneurs for years, and we've sold businesses, we've bought businesses. And when we had this opportunity to go out and raise capital from both by being in Y Combinator, Silicon Valley based, incubator, as well as, Wall Street by having debt facilities, and get that capital to go out and make acquisitions of small business owners, folks who had started businesses to sell their items on the internet, either on Amazon or on Shopify. We thought this was an amazing opportunity for us to empower entrepreneurs really in 2 ways. One is with capital, right? Like some of these entrepreneurs wouldn't have access to an exit if not for our businesses and businesses like this. And so just getting your check after working really hard on 5 years on your idea sometimes that's the empowerment people want. And then they can go and take some time to do what they want, whether that's a new business or be with their family or travel or whatever. But the second way that we really envisioned Moonshot as a way of empowering entrepreneurs was for some entrepreneurs wanted to stay. And so like our VP of operations is a company that we acquired. Now he's part of a bigger platform. We have other businesses where we've acquired and the entrepreneurs have stayed. And our vision is that not just those entrepreneurs, but then the experts in marketing, in storytelling, in operations all get to learn from each other and really have this unique place where we're getting better every day. And as we pursue our mission to kind of scale e-commerce brands globally, and we're learning from each other and then empowering those entrepreneurs either to stay with Moonshot and grow or go on to their next thing. And we'll be cheering for them as they do that.
Thank you. That's awesome. There's a theme in this show. It's all about helping others and people being the core of any business, any career, right? And you're absolutely doing that. You're helping others in what you're doing. So I think that's just an awesome.
We hope so.
story.
And I would just say that they're helping me. I mean, we're learning every day from each other. And I've learned more from these entrepreneurs. There's a lot of tactical stuff every day in running a business. I'll give you a small example. We had stuff in an acquisition that we bought from a distressed seller that was stuck at the port. We had someone on our team who had worked with the port before, understood how to run that and get those items out of there. He did an unbelievable job of getting 40 containers from there to Amazon in a very short period of time. That's something I had never experienced before. And to see him operate and execute against that was really inspirational.
That's awesome. I love that. People helping people at the end of the day. Craig, so I want to switch gears a little bit. We're a technology publication. We like to talk to people about tech a little bit. But are you leveraging any new or emerging technologies within your business? And if not, maybe you've got a cool tool or app you can share with us.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'd love to kind of do both. So, there's e-commerce has so much data available. My partner often says there's more data here than maybe anywhere but the stock market and healthcare. And I think that when we saw that, and what does that mean specifically? You can see, everything that's being sold on Amazon. You can see where their sales are. You can see what their price points are. You can see what discounts are offering. Well, to take all that data, and we use that in kind of two kind of homebrewed tools. The first we call our asset identification engine. So we're going out and acquiring brands, right? So we take our data and say, what are the macro trends that we should be looking at? What are the specific performance of this specific asset, and how do we kind of use APIs to bring that data in and model it out? And so we have our first set of tools we call asset identification engine. The second set we call a Moonshot Station. That's now that we have tens of millions of dollars of sales. How do we monitor on a day-to-day basis how each asset's doing, how our marketing spend's doing? And so that's a mix of tools that we've built in-house. And then I will just throw out a couple of tools that we like that are out there. We've been using a tool called NWO for trend tracking. They claim that Goldman Sachs used their tool to identify Oatly or oat milk as a hot trend, and then Goldman Sachs, I think it was Blackstone, invested $10 million invested in that business and made lots of money. So we use NWO. That's maybe a less known tool. And then in the Amazon world, there's a whole suite of tools that have come out. Jungle Scout and Helium 10 are kind of the most well known and really accessible to anyone. $10, $20 a month. We also have a great tool that we called Merchant Spring that we like to use. A really great set of developers out of Australia. That tool is also available for any e-commerce seller.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We hear something new every day on the show, and thanks to you, just shared some great things that our audience could definitely leverage. So Craig, last question here. Can you share something from your career experience that would be helpful for those looking to grow their career in either leadership or entrepreneurship?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. For me, I think it's just an unbelievable time to be an entrepreneur. And I say that at a broad level. Obviously, the last 3 months in the whole economy have been difficult, but I would say, this period of time over the last decade, you can start a business with very little capital. And I'll give you a quick example that's a personal example, because I think starting a business, you learn so much by doing it, and it's much more accessible than maybe people think. So 10 years ago, I had a full-time job, but I had an idea that turned into a side hustle that was ultimately called iBlock. And what that idea was to create a webcam cover. And that webcam cover, I literally had the first version printed on a 3D printer at the DC Public Library. I set up the Shopify site myself. I set up the Amazon site myself. I set up something called ShipStation so I could ship it for orders. I went to Kinko's and had a card printed out and bought poly bags off Amazon and packed it myself. And I did all that in a budget of under $1,000 because my wife said I could sell my road bike I never rode to fund this kind of fun side project. And that side project, eventually I took that product onto Shark Tank, where I pitched it and did not get funded, got kind of crushed, to be honest, but it was an amazing experience. And today that company does about $500,000 in revenue. It's part of Moonshot. And I think without that kind of real hands-on experience that started 10 years ago, building my own website, building my own Amazon store, sourcing my own products, I don't know if I would have been able to launch Moonshot. Moonshot was launched, Moonshot Brands was launched to go out and acquire e-commerce brands. And yes, it helps that I have a lot of finance experience and strategy and operations experience. But when we talk to these sellers and I'm in their account and I understand how the dashboards work, and I can tell them about the time I had to have my whole family pack eye blocks over Thanksgiving because I got my first big order and I wanted to ship it on time for a trade show. All of us have had those experiences. And I think anyone listening to the show, if you have an idea, it's very low risk at this point to start and just start, and you'll learn a lot and you'll have more failures and successes, but I think it's worth doing and you shouldn't be afraid to go out and try it.
I love that. Again, you these are my words, but you're like the epitome of the entrepreneur, the one that has gotten after it, like you said, started. So amazing story, Craig. I really appreciate it. And it was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
I really appreciate that. And you're welcome to follow me around as my hype man anytime. Thanks for all the compliments.
Bye for now.